Hey there YouTube, welcome back to my video, which is basically going to be where I go through what my next major Napoleonic project is going to be. Now obviously I'm still going to be doing things on the side, which is something that I generally don't do, and this project is not designed to go quickly. It's going to be quite a slow one. So basically what I'm going to do, we go down to the painting table. I've got it all written down on paper, just off screen there. You can probably just about make it out to the side there, and I'll take you through what I've decided what I'm going to do, yeah. So let's get down there and we'll start trying to keep this as short as possible without me going off on a tangent. So catch you in a second. Okay, well, kind of at the painting desk. There's me saying that I'm not going to go off on tangents, but basically before you can see a red arrow, and this is something that I just did in the background. I wasn't even sure whether I was going to even put it on video, and I'm not particularly going to go into a massive amount of detail over it, but I just had this. I've always wanted to do a red arrow for a long time, and I managed to get hold of this starter set here for a pretty cheap price, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do myself a red arrow. I mean, I'm not by any means a master modeller, but I've done a fair few model aircraft in my time, and I've also done a fair amount of them, maybe like 4 or 5 for like bolt action, etc., etc. You know what, I really feel like doing myself a red arrow, so I did it, and that is the finished result, and I've got to say I was pretty damn happy with it. I'll zoom in a little bit on it. It's obviously it's an Airfix kit, so it's a starter set, so it's designed to be like, pretty easy to put together, and it was. Although I've got to say that the problem that I did have was the construction I would put as like, yeah, it's really easy. There's not many parts. It goes together pretty easy, but the only thing I had a lot of trouble with was lining up the cockpit in the fuselage. There didn't seem to be. I seem to remember when I was young, putting cockpits into fuselages was really easy. There used to be all these nice little guiding lines and things sticking out of the fuselage. You just put the cockpit against, and just slide in easy, and then you put the other side on, boom, done. But nowadays they thing dangle around with it, and they obviously save plastic by cutting down the grooves where the cockpit should sit easy. So I found it really quite fiddly to try and get it to properly line up, and although I think I do get it to actually properly line up, I was a little bit dubious for a fair amount of time, it could still possibly be just a little bit misaligned, because I did have a little bit of trouble getting the cockpit on without having any sort of gappage. Now I'm not sure if that's just part of the mould, or whether it was the actual cockpit part is just slightly out of alignment, but it looks okay, so it must only be like a fraction of a millimetre misaligned if it actually is. But yeah, I was really happy with it, and of course the good thing about Airfix models is that you also get a pilot. So of course I had to put the pilot in. See if I can get this to focus in on him. Now it's not a particularly amazing pilot. I'll try to zoom in right on. Come on, focus. That's better than nothing. Yeah, so yeah, that's my little red arrow. I thought I'd just give you a quick look at it. I was pretty damn chuffed with it. Now, if I was to give a criticism to the starter set, I would say that it would be the decals, because they were extremely complicated to put on. Not only did it have a hell of a lot of them, but it also had that whole 3-part stripe going down from the Union Jack on the tail, going right the way across to the nose. That is three decals or transfers. Very fiddly to put on. Long transfers are always difficult to put on. I mean, I know Airfix use a really good make of transfers. I can't remember what the name is, but it's an Italian company, like something like Cartograph or something like that, which are I think are like really high quality transfers. So they don't like naturally curl up or anything like that. so that's a big bonus straight away from the start. But the thing I found the most difficult was putting the white triangle on the bottom of the aircraft. It gives you no, you really have to kind of, I think you have to really put it on before you put these sort of wing pylons on, because there's multiple parts to it. Very difficult, very nigh impossible, I'd say, actually. Yeah, so be wary of that if you do decide to get yourself this kit. It might even be worth, you know, perhaps if you're a better airbrusher than you are a better than putting decals on, it might be worth, you know, taking a bit of time to mask that area off and spray it white yourself, and then just part off the red. But yeah, I found that really difficult. Anyway, let's get down to the job at hand. So I'm going to put the camera down towards the table and zoom out, and then I will get the paperwork of what my next Napoleonic project or projects are going to be. Okay, so now the first part. Now this is going to basically, I have mentioned this a fair few times in the past, but what I've always wanted to do since I finished my original third corps, when I first did it, I did it to one battalion per regiment. I went back and looked at it and found that a lot of the companies, or a lot of the battalions actually had, or a lot of the regiments rather, had not only 2 battalions, but actually a lot of them had 3. Now, the kind of odd thing about it is they're all actually quite small battalions. Now, what I'm going to do is I did think about cutting down, you know, making them slightly smaller battalions, because some of them are as little as sort of 300 or 400 men. I thought, well, shall I do like, you know, an 18 and, you know, like maybe a couple of 18-man battalions, because that kind of would make up for it. And then I thought, well, that's going to be quite annoying. It's going to be like 3-man on the stand. It's going to be lots of wasted figures. It's going to, you're basically going to end up having to buy more figures and be left with loads of like line infantry that you just basically never going to be able to use up, because I think this when I finish this project, I think this will more or less end my Napoleonic, as far as the French go anyway, will probably end my French forces totally, because I don't think I'll ever need any more French than what this project's going to produce. So if I now cut that down into basic numbers, so basically when I completed this unit, or this corps, there were 13 battalions of French infantry, 1 light and 1 foreign. Now, I went back, I rewrote it all out again, and I added the second and the third battalions, and they equate to another 17 battalions in total. So that will make 30 battalions of French French troops, basically. Now, if I just show you like an example, for instance, so third corps is split into 3 infantry divisions, the 8th, the 10th and the 11th. And if we look at the 8th here, now the 8th is actually the first one that I completed, so it's made up of a lot of warlord and a lot of slightly what I would call under par painted units. Some of them have got wacky basing, some of them are you know, before I went back and did a few touch-up bits on them, were certainly under par in comparison to some of my later ones. So it'll give me not only a chance to fully complete the battalion and have the grandeur of having this massive corps of French, but also I've never actually done a 2nd battalion or a 3rd battalion of French infantry, so it'd be nice to actually have a bit of experience with the old Fanion poles and the various coloured flags. Now, obviously, Imperial Guard, I've done second battalions, but they have their own unique Fanions. So that's going to be the main, this is going to be kind of like the main background part of the project. It's going to be long, it's going to be tedious. I mean, doing bog standard French infantry is a grind, and doing 17 battalions of them is definitely going to be a grind. I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to concentrate on a infantry division at a time. And it's going to kind of be running in the background, so I'll be working on other things in between it, and that's why I think it's going to this whole project as a whole is going to actually go on for a fair amount of time. So yes, that's the first part of the project. Now the second part is also connected to Third Corps, and that is to go back and rebase and in some cases replace all of the command figures. Now I know for sure that when I did my my last Napoleonic project with the Imperial Guard and the cavalry units, I changed my command basing structure. I used to use 50mm bases for battalion command, and I used to use a 65mm round base for like, you know, corps commanders and stuff. Well, now I've decided to adopt the, well, since my last project, I've decided to use 65mm circular bases for all of the up to divisional commanders. So you have your, you know, I've got a fair bunch of lower ranked officers, as in brigade commanders on 50x50 command bases. And they're going to be swapped out, as well as, of course, for the corps commander. So the figure that I've got at the moment, who I'm using as Van Damme. Now I do actually quite like that figure, but I don't. I've actually found some command figures on Perry's that I'd like to perhaps put in and swap around. So his figure will probably get recycled as a brigade commander, and I'll bring in the new one to be Van Damme. Now, the other major rebasing thing will be that for people like corps commanders, or for the Allies, people like, you know, Wellington and people, personalities like that, they are going to be placed on these sorts of bases, and I think these are 100mm circular bases. And of course, because there's not going to be many of them, taking up space on the table is not going to make that much difference. And I think it's a good way of being able to set up a really nice command base for the real high ranks. And of course, because there's not many of them, you don't have to do a lot of them. So that's the basic plan for Third Corps. And like I say, that's going to take a long time to do, and there's no real rush for me to get it done. It's going to last. I can see this project lasting a year at a minimum. I am still, like I said, still going to be doing things on the side, which is something that I generally don't do. I mean, I might do like one or two little side projects as I'm like working on a project, but I'm not the sort of person that likes changing from one thing to another constantly. But at the same time, it's getting to the point now where I've got lots of things that I'd really like to do, and I'm finding that when I get focused on doing just Napoleonics and sticking to Napoleonics all the time, that stuff that's on the side that I really want to do as well is not getting done. So that's why I'm going to try to sort of split the project as I go along. So that's Third Corps out of the way now. And like I say, that will end my French completely. So obviously there's a little bit of something extra to come in the second part of the project I'm going to show you now. But this will end my French Napoleonics. You know, I may get some odds and sods along the way. You know, maybe a unit come up that I want to add. You know, maybe I might possibly in the far future, I might, you know, delve back into the Imperial Guard, do some more sort of perhaps some cavalry for them. Who knows? But as far as sort of line infantry goes, or doing another division, or doing another corps, that's as far as it's going to go, I think. Now for the Allies, it's going to be slightly different. Obviously, the Allies, I've got a division at the moment, and Obviously, 2 divisions actually, but again, 2 divisions still under par in comparison to a core. So this is the second part of my project. So we have the Brunswickers. Now I was looking across the Allied order of battle in my Waterloo Companion, and I was trying to pick out something that took my fancy that I wanted to do. Now obviously the downside to the British, the British divisions that are left are Highlanders and Hanoverians, and to tell the truth, I didn't really want to go delving into Hanoverian infantry again, and I certainly didn't really want to start delving into tartans. So what I decided, so as I was sort of looking through, I thought, well, hello, this is the Brunswickers. Not only is black a very cool colour. I mean, yeah, it's not an easy colour to paint, but I was looking at some of their sort of uniform colours and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, they're black, but I really do like the look of some of their facings, and I think that the other big thing is that there's only 3 flags in the entire division, minus the pennants on the Uhlans. So that is another sort of big bonus. You don't need to spend a lot of extra money on flags. In fact, I actually picked up all of the Hanoverian flags that I need yesterday. So I basically went to GMB and I picked up the first, the second, and the third line, and a packet of pennants for the Uhlans. So that's it. That's all the flags I'll need. And it's actually not too bad. I think it's like eight units of infantry, and 2 units of cavalry, and 2 batteries of cannon. So it's not too big. It's quite a containable division. And the other thing, of course, is that it's also got cavalry. So it adds a few extra bits of cavalry to the British. Some Brunswick Hussars and some Uhlans. Now, obviously I've never done Lancers before, and I've always wanted to do French Lancers, and that kind of ties a little bit in with my the unit that I've picked to do for my French cavalry as well. So it'd be nice to actually be able to do some Allied cavalry with Lancers. So that'd be quite an interesting little journey, I think. And as far as Hussars go, I think I'm going to go down the metal route for the Brunswick Hussars, because I think you kind of got no choice really, and again, I think this Brunswick unit is going to be mostly a metal project, and that's another reason why it's quite good that it's actually fairly small in comparison. So now I was mentioning cavalry. So as I was doing obviously I'm doing French infantry, I'm doing the Brunswickers for the Allies. Now, along with that, I also wanted to do a couple more cavalry units. So once again, I was looking around through the orders of battle. I find that a really, I mean, I'm the sort of person that likes to keep things as historical as possible. And I've said to myself several times, it's like I really want to do some French Hussars and I really want to do some French Lancers. Now, as I was hunting around, I found the 1st Cavalry Division. Now, if we look at this, so we have the 1st Brigade, 7th Hussars, 3rd Chasseurs de Cheval. Now, I'm not a master of Chasseurs de Cheval. I've painted, I think I've painted 4 units of them before, or maybe possibly 3. But I've never painted a metal unit of Chasseurs de Cheval, so I thought, hello, that's a good opportunity to get a metal unit of Chasseurs de Cheval, and of course I get to do my 7th Hussars, so that's the French Hussars box ticked. Now if you look at the 2nd Brigade, 3rd and 4th Lancers, so that ticks another box, because that gives me the chance to add a couple of units of French Lancers. Now the other bonus to this is, no, actually no, that's now slightly changed, because originally I was going to do, actually no, I'm actually still going to, on my plans for when I start my third corps is to pick up the French Waterloo starter box set. Not the Waterloo box set, the French Waterloo starter army. And within that you actually get a unit of Lancers. So I thought that's another box tick, because that's giving me a unit of Lancers straight away, so I can just get a unit of metal ones to complement them. Now, British. So I thought, well, now I'm going to need a British cavalry unit. Now, obviously, because of the extra cavalry that you get in the Brunswickers, I thought, well, I don't want to do like a. I was having trouble finding a cavalry brigade for the British. Nothing was taking my fancy, and then I thought, well, you know what? I just noticed that I had a couple of stands that I brought in from the living room of my other unit of British cavalry before I finished my household cavalry, and that was these boys. Now the reason I brought them back in here was because my cat had decided to jump down on the board where all my figures were and create a path of chaos by walking all over him. And a path of chaos is the right word, because there was snapped bayonets, there was snapped muskets, there was snapped arms snapped off, heads gone, standards come away, guys knocked off stands. It was absolute chaos. I had to completely move all of my French miniatures that are still in the other room and put them in more secure positions to stop her from possibly walking across them. And these guys happen to have a few arms knocked off, so they're actually in here. Now these guys are the Brunswick, not the Brunswick, what am I talking about? I've got Brunswick on the brain. These guys are the Cumberland Hussars. These were the first, my first bitter taste of British Hussars, or Hussars in general, and they were almost enough to put me off of cavalry for life. And I did vow that I was never ever going to do Hussars again. But then, of course, I started to develop a taste for doing some French Hussars. And then up comes the silly idea in my mind, is that, I mean, these guys are trash. These guys are possibly the worst cavalry unit of the period. These guys are absolute trash. If you look at their stats in the Black Powder book, you sometimes think, well, why the hell would anyone want to do these guys? And a similar sort of thing comes up when you look at the actual division that these guys come from, or the brigade they come from. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to do the Hanoverian Cavalry Brigade, because they're all basically a pile of trash. If you look at the actual brigade, commanded by a Colonel Baron Astorf, who just happened to be not even bothered to actually turn up at Waterloo, and then you have the Prince Regent's Hussars and the Bremen and Verdun Hussars, who saw no action, and then you have the Duke of Cumberland's Hussars. Now they saw action, but what did they do when they got the order to charge? They charged, turned around and ran away. So the British are getting possibly the worst cavalry brigade known to humankind, but I suppose on the plus side, at least the Prince Regent and Bremen and Verdun Hussars don't get rubbish stats. They get standard Hussar stats. So that is the Napoleonic plans for my next project. Now I'm quite pumped for them. And like I say, I'm going to be a little bit careful not to sort of, when it comes to the sort of French side of things, I'm probably going to show them when I do a brigade at a time, rather than just show you French units over and over and over again. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you to a couple of more subscribers that I managed to pick up. It's taken me a long time to actually get this video out. I think I've filmed it like 4 or 5 times. I've just been unhappy with it. To tell the truth, I'm not particularly happy with this, but it's got to the point where I just can't be bothered now. So hopefully it's not too boring, and I'll be back for another video fairly soon. Until then, catch you all later. Bye bye.